Hello, everybody. Thank you for sticking around. This is going to be a different video. It's not going to be in reference to my plastic surgery at all. I think that I want to do a series on meth because meth has had a huge impact in my life. So I'm going to first start off with what even led me to do the meth, and then I'm going to dub the rest of the series Meth Chronicles. There's the marquee right there. I mean, it's not really there, but yeah, Meth Chronicles. So let me first let you guys know what even brought me to meth, and from there I'm going to talk about my hallucination experiences I've had, voices I've heard, yeah, just crazy shit that's happened to me while high on meth or seeking to get high, things of that nature. So around about August 2012, I had done like a random STD panel at Patient First, right? Patient First, like an urgent care facility. You can just go there and get regular doctor visits or get your STD panel done. So I was between getting out of the Air Force and I was in the beginning stages of joining the Army. Um, a Sunday came around and I got a call from Patient First and they wanted me to come in. Now, if they are unwilling to give you your medical results over the telephone and they want you to come in, oh bitch, you bet your bottom dollar you got some shit going on. So I knew right then and there that my military career was going to be derailed, because if you're out of the military, no other branch will take you in if you're positive. So that's one of these disqualifiers. You cannot join the military if you're positive. But if you're already in the military and you become positive, they can make the executive decision to keep you or not. So, since I was already out the Air Force and I was about to join the Army, I knew right then and there whatever I was doing with the Army had to stop because they weren't going to take me. Um, in that moment, I don't think I allowed myself to absorb what was actually happening. It was kind of those out of mind, out of sight, out of mind type situations where I wasn't actually dealing with the issue. I wasn't confronting the issue. I guess you could say I was in a state of denial. Now, it wasn't until my friend which was an Army recruiter who was trying to get me in, had asked me if I had seen a doctor. I said no. He says, well, I think it's very important that you do see a doctor. I was on some, well, I feel fine type bullshit. Again, being newly diagnosed, not really knowing all the things that I know now. But he actually convinced me to go to a doctor. Um, he went with me to the doctor, and the doctor was this old Iranian woman who was on her way to retirement. She prescribed me something called Trezevir. It was an outdated medication that nobody would prescribe you today as your first treatment, and it had some shitty side effects. I had to take a pill twice a day, and twice a day I would feel nauseous and lightheaded. So remember how I told you I was in denial? Now twice a day I had a physical manifestation of the very situation that I was trying to run away from, that I wasn't really trying to deal with. So I was forced to deal with this situation twice a day when I would take that blue pill. And then my hands and feet started cramping up. Like, sometimes my feet would be balled up like this. I had to start doing push-ups on my knuckles because I couldn't, the weight on my hands was just too much. I don't know what the fuck that shit was about, but those things led me to a deep depression. I was depressed. I was like, oh my God, how could I let myself get in this situation? Like, I knew what a condom was. I should have used it. Who's going to want me? Nobody's going to like me. Am I going to live? What are my followers going to think up until this point? Those are the questions that I had. And I was deeply depressed. There was this older man who, if I was of sound mind and sound judgment and wasn't depressed and just wasn't trying to feel good on the inside, remember Eve's Bayou? No, not Eve's Bayou, Beloved. I wanted to feel good on the inside. Yeah. So I wanted to feel good on the inside. So I was fucking hooking up with people whom I would never fucking hook up with. But, I just wanted an escape. So this older man had asked me if I ever partied before. I didn't know what the fuck that meant. I was like, no. He says, do you want to? I was like, okay, sure. So, I've always kind of been a daredevil. So, the fact that whatever partying he was talking about involved needles and drugs, it didn't bother me that much. It wasn't a shocker to me. One, two, I was already depressed anyway and wanted to escape my reality. So I watched him pull out a fresh needle. He had a baggie of crystals type substance. I later found out it was crystal meth. He had a straw that was cut off at an angle. He took the plunger off the back of the needle. He got the straw. He filled the straw up with the crystal substance. He then poured it into the back of the needle. He put the plunger back on it. He had some saline water, some sterile water with him. He drew the water up with the needle. I watched the crystal substance dissolve, and he was like, you're going to feel so good after this. Like, oh man, you don't know what you're about to be in for. I'm like, okay, whatever. He put a tourniquet around my arm. He got an alcohol swab. He swabbed my vein. He stuck the needle in my vein. He pulled back on the plunger. I watched the blood flash. He pushed the back of the plunger down. The substance went into my vein. He took the tourniquet off. And like that, it went right to my heart. Now, if you've ever done meth before, you know that very first time that you do meth and it gets to your heart, it causes you to cough. So I coughed, and then immediately it was this overwhelming feeling of euphoria. And all I wanted to do was fuck ass and get fucked. That's all I wanted to do, because that's the state that it puts your mind in. You're in a complete state of inhibition. Which is why meth usually goes hand in hand with HIV. They're pretty much interchangeable because of that state of inhibition that you end up being in, where all of a sudden condoms don't mean shit, where all of a sudden you're relaxing your preferences and you fucking people you would never fuck with. You're engaging in group sex, you're engaging in a lot of risky sex due to the drug causing you to be completely uninhibited. That's how I was introduced to it, and that right there opened up Pandora's box, because to this day I am dealing with the ramifications of doing an illicit substance. Yeah, so I want to say that man was probably in and out of my life for almost a half a year, because 2013 I moved to Philadelphia. And when I first got there, the meth wasn't an issue, but bitch, meth is everywhere. You don't even have to look for it. You're going to fucking find it. So I want to say it found me. Before I knew it again, I was, dibbling and dabbling. I wasn't really depressed at this point, but, once you're dealing with a drug, and once you realize that, bitch, that drug makes you feel good, and the sex is great on the drug, you kind of have a hard time pulling yourself away from it, especially if there's something else in your life that you're trying to escape. You may not even be aware or cognizant of what it is that you're trying to run away from, but even though you put on a good face, even though you try to put up your representative, the cracks start to show at some point, and what you're running from will bubble its way up to the surface. So yeah, that's what actually got me, I guess you could say, hooked on the drug. And my use would spike and it would go down. It would wane. Yeah. So that's what happened. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to tell you guys right now. As it relates to HIV, I slowly got comfortable with telling people, and I even became public. I'm talking about it now, right? So like I even went public about it. I want to say back in 2013. So as I came to grips with the HIV, the meth still stayed. The meth was still around. It may not have been on the forefront of my life. My life may not have completely revolved around meth, but it was still in the picture. It just wasn't it wasn't something that was of daily use or anything like that, but it was still around. So yeah, I came to terms with the HIV. I'm good on the HIV front, but I couldn't figure out why am I still using the meth. And I realized there were other things in my life that I wasn't happy about. And these other things that I'm not happy about, the feelings would be strong, and then they would wane as well, such as not having a degree, such as not making the right decisions in my 20s to set myself up for my 30s and things of that nature, such as comparing where I am in life to those of my peers and like, well, bitch, they got their shit together, why can't I do it? So those types of thoughts were thoughts that kind of caused me to still run to the meth, even though I had already came to terms with the HIV. So the HIV was no longer an issue. It was me not being satisfied with where I am in life. And I think that was at first on a subconscious level that I slowly realized, okay, this is why I keep doing the meth. Um, at this point in my life, I have not done any meth in, I want to say, a month and a half. I have this renewed vigor for attaining some goals, for getting my life together. You know what I mean? I think I don't know if it was because of that total eclipse we had a couple month or two ago, or if it's because I'm 30 now. But bitch, I am fired up and I am ready to take my ass to school, to step out of my comfort zone, to do things that I would be afraid to do. Because I realize if you're going to get what you never got, you got to do something that you've never done. And that statement is true in so many ways. You have to be able to step completely out of your comfort zone to make real change in your life. You can't be teetering at the top of that motherfucking cliff. You got to jump. And that's what I'm doing now. I am jumping. I realize that there's no place for meth in my life. Meth is a dream killer, it's a goal stealer, it's a drug that will cause you to reprioritize your priorities. You're like, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that later. I'll get to that later. And bitch, you never get back to it. You never get back to it. It causes you to exist in a place outside of space-time where you blink and 5 years have passed and you don't even realize that bitch it's been 5 fucking years. I want to say, looking back on my meth use, the most the biggest factor that really upsets me isn't the fact that I was using it. It isn't even the hallucinations I've had, or the people that I've met, or the people that I really would never fuck but I ended up fucking anyway. Those aren't even what really boils my blood about the meth use. What boils my blood is the amount of time I've spent more time looking for sex than actually fucking, because the meth causes you tonight. You can't focus. You can't focus on one thing. You're talking to 5 different niggas, and your mind is so spastic, you don't even get to have sex with all of them, bitch. I'm like, well, I'm doing this drug because I've compartmentalized the drug and sex together. Why am I not having sex? Because again, you can't focus when you're on this drug. So I've had plenty of times where I had opportunities to get dick down and to dick somebody down, but god damn it, I couldn't focus because of the influence that I was under. So yeah, so this video was just about the introduction. This is the introduction to how I even got to fuck around with meth in the beginning. The next videos after this will be me actually recalling some instances while I was on meth. Understand that in everything that I say or in everything that I go through, I believe there is a silver lining. There is a lesson. There is a reason if you're open to it and you look for it. I'm not I'm not at all looking for fucking praise for doing drugs. No. If anything, I'm trying to warn you against against the danger of meth, against those demons. You don't want those demons in your life. So don't even open up that Pandora's box. Don't do it. Please don't. You know, you may hear me sound lighthearted about some of the things. I may laugh at some of the things that I've been through, but bitch, I gotta laugh. I have to laugh. I can't take myself that seriously. I have to recognize that it happened, find the humor in it, and don't let it happen again. But we'll talk more. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. upload this shit, and I'll be back with more content. All right, bye.